Hi, I'm Mimi Chan. Welcome to Culture Chat. Thanks for joining the conversation. Hi, everyone. Culture Chat presents The Mimi and Greg Show. I am grateful for these weekly conversations with Greg Rucka that began since the COVID-19 quarantine. Since we both believe we are in this together, we literally decided to tackle the pandemic with these weekly chats. In this episode, Greg Rucka discusses the failed response by the U.S. to the COVID-19 pandemic, issues with government, and the dire need for self-care. For those that don't already know, Greg Rucka is a New York Times best-selling author of hundreds of comics and nearly 24 novels. He is also the writer for the hit film The Old Guard, starring Charlize Theron. I'm loving these conversations and hope you are too. If you are, please rate my podcast on your platform of choice and share it with others. If you would like to support with a donation to help keep this podcast going, I would certainly appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by visiting my website or patreon.com/sifumimichan. For comments or suggestions, email me at mimi@culturechatpodcast.com or reach out on social media at sifumimichan. Now on with the show. Hello, Greg.
Hello, Mimi.
It's another Thursday. We made it.
Yeah, it is. It is yet another week in the ongoing war to kill democracy. Apparently,
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
It's been a good time. Hasn't been. They can't see me shaking my head, going, "No, it hasn't."
Yeah. I think they know us well enough now, and you especially, to know when there's sarcasm in that tone.
Oh, I hope. One would hope that the sarcasm there was clear.
Yeah. So I read that Portland, and I also have friends there. They said you have like a freeze or something going on, which.
Oh, we are going into a full lockdown again. We're not. It's not a stay-at-home order.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just shy of it.
Okay.
It's yeah, I mean, I guess let's talk pandemic. We cleared 250,000 dead this week, and there was news about 2 possible vaccines, and the question now about who gets them, how and when, and how much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
Let's stop and think about that. We have a pandemic, but we're going to charge people for this. Governments need to suck that up pronto fast. And the spread is out of control. It is not stopping. So we are now, you look at the maps and there was that story in the news this week that the nurse in North Dakota was talking about, and it got picked up by all the major about, you're literally intubating somebody and they're screaming at you that this isn't happening.
They don't believe it.
And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. Mm-hmm. It's happening. It is happening to you. Yeah. It is a very sad state of affairs that there are people who have been so indoctrinated at this point that they are literally dying from a disease that they are trying to convince themselves and others does not exist. The disconnection from reality, the reality disconnect here is terrifying.
Yes, I did hear about that, and I can't even imagine what it's like being a healthcare worker, trying to reconcile what they're trying to do, save lives, and these, patients are so diluted with the wrong information. All we talked about last week with misinformation and where people are getting their info, and and how frustrating that must be. And let alone most of them are dying alone because we're still in a situation where, they don't allow an extra person to go to the hospital. A really good friend of mine just had miraculously a kidney transplant that she's been waiting for years for. And, I couldn't go. There's no support system that would normally be there. All these different things are just insane. But like you said, it's unfathomable that people who literally are taking their last breath and dying still don't believe that it's from COVID-19, and they're denying. Yeah. I mean,
they're denying what they're dying from. And it's like, okay, I don't know how to articulate this. The indoctrination and abuse of these people literally is killing them and others. It is deliberate. How is that not murder?
Yeah.
I mean, if I were to be Rupert Murdoch and to take control of all the media that I can control, and incessantly and constantly for years and years on end, argued that putting a loaded firearm barrel first into your mouth and pulling the trigger would not kill you, and that it's a lie, and that the people who are telling you not to put a loaded firearm in your mouth and pull the trigger are Democrats. And a rash of people decided to treat their pistols like lollipops and blew off the back of their heads. How is that not right? How would I not be in some way responsible for perpetuating that lie?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, it's like almost pretty much we're at brainwashing stage of innocence. And just the stark contrast, let's look at where you are and where I am. And I know you've told me, like, take it and run, get out of here. But literally, at least
I understand why you can't.
Yes.
but I did also notice when watching the incidentally very well done tribute that you put up for the 50th anniversary of Wadum on YouTube, and which people should check out if they haven't, because it's really impressive.
Thank you.
There's some really kick-ass stuff in it. I did notice that there is a temple here in Portland.
It's not a temple, but yes, there.
Well, a school. Sorry, there is a school here in Portland. Forgive me for the wrong thing. That's not as bad as a kung fu class. Okay? In the list of sins I have committed.
In the kung fu sins.
That's right. This one's a little smaller, I think.
Right. Well, the thing about it is, we discussed that, but it's like looking at where you are and where I am. It's at least you have people that care about you. Like, our governor's literally trying to kill us, which is why he's hashtag Death Santis. And what you just said, it all ties together. It's like we literally live in the same country, yet we're obviously not getting equal care.
It's the same country, but not the same world.
And so it's so unbelievable. Our state freaking still doesn't have mask mandates. It's almost laughable. And I don't know how it works, but I know that the Vatican is its own like sovereign whatever. I'm like, maybe while we can just have our own little place. It feels so horrible there in Florida. I'm in Florida and I'm just dying. Like the rage is so immense, but it's I feel like we might as well be in different countries, because what you're getting and what I'm getting in terms of care, protection and safety is night and day, and it makes no sense.
Well, and what people are willing to accept. And admittedly, look, I'm in Portland, and if you go further east, you will not find the same response.
Yes.
The understanding of what it means to, quote, have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, to have freedom, in this country is staggering to me. The idea that there are people for whom the idea of their freedom morphs into the right to deny that to another so seamlessly blows my mind. You do not have the right to kill me. And that's not an American thing, right? That is a human thing. That is a basic human right. You do not have the right to murder me. The willing, and that's what it is at this point, spread of a life-threatening disease is a choice saying that you don't care if I die, and the next step, which is, and I will actively go about trying to increase the odds of that happening. And I know that sounds hyperbolic, but at a certain point, you know, your right to, quote unquote, freedom does not supersede my right to exist. Because this isn't an issue about me trying to take a freedom away from you. I'm not trying to get in your way. I just want to get through this and make it to the next day. So yeah, I continue to be bewildered and befuddled.
Yeah.
And the doubling down over and over and over again by the Republicans here is just, we are literally watching a concerted attempt to kill the country now. Like, the election's over, you lost it.
Yeah.
So what is this about? Is this now about, I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and there had been a thing in the Washington Post quoting, you know, anonymously saying, oh yeah, no, the goal now is to create as many problems for the Biden administration. So they'll never be able to handle it. It's like, so what you're trying to do is hurt the country?
Yeah. Yes.
So what is motivating this? Fear. They're afraid of being caught. And anger and resentment. It's spite. Fear and spite. We are being governed by toddlers having a temper tantrum.
Basically.
No, not basically. That is exactly it. What is a temper tantrum? It is fear and spite. I am going to hold my breath until you give me what I want. And I'm going to throw things and kick and shout and scream and break it. Lindsey Graham is a criminal.
Yep.
He is a criminal. I mean, my God.
I know. I'm glad that at least the
state
attorney was like, hey, he just told me to do this. I'm glad he actually said something, because at this point, you don't even know what else is said when that's what we get to hear about. I'm going, oh my God, how much worse is it then?
This is the stuff we're hearing about?
I was like, well, how much worse is this then? So it's like just shocking. But my only saving grace is this image of, you know, 45 being escorted out, taken away. And I'm just holding on to that and hoping that we finally get there, because I don't know how I'm going to survive till January at this point.
Day by day, and again by keeping watch, and again by shouting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Georgia matters right now.
Oh man. Yes.
Everybody's got to be all in. Yeah. Georgia matters.
I think all eyes are definitely there. I have to say, I'm a little relieved that Florida is like old news at this point, and we're finally not in the hot seat because people have already given up on us, and rightfully so. But it's like, man, it's just constant, So I found myself looking, like you say, doom scrolling. But then I was like, you know what? Let me see what other random things. And there was this like ginormous Jurassic Park like alligator roaming around golf courses, and that amused me for a day, and I was so happy about it. And I'm like, that's actually bad. I'm sure it didn't eat anyone, but it was like, this is awesome. I want to see this.
Look, if you're out on a golf course right now, your name's probably Trump, and
maybe he'll get what's coming to him.
Well, I'm sure he would be a fine meal for some alligator out there, and and I won't say anything more on that. I have some I have some things that keep me warm at night about how things will end in January. I think that we are seeing they want a war, and so maybe they'll get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I do know that I'm not giving up. So
yes, we're in this together, Greg. Don't worry.
we fight on.
We fight on. Exactly. I mean, there's pretty much, Oscar and I always try to do let's look at what we're grateful for, the bright side of things. With Thanksgiving coming up, we're trying to be mindful of that. And it's like just a daily struggle and practice. But even sitting here, like I wouldn't actually be talking to you right now if we weren't in a pandemic and like weekly like this. So I'm grateful for this.
Yeah. I mean, one can make the argument that again, it's and not to be glib about it, right? But let's find some silver lining.
We've got to try, because I feel like we'll just lose our minds otherwise, because it is an endless list of all the things that are wrong. And you and I have certainly gone down that path and gone through it. But I mean, at least, I'm holding on to the January vision, right? I'm holding on to that once we finally get there and Georgia takes their elections and we can actually get work done, that people's lives will become the priority again versus being some sort of political tool or some power play. And maybe they'll actually care about all these people that are getting sick and dying, and then not sending the message that it's okay. Because I mean, rational people that I know have suddenly, and this is, Oscar and I have been horrified in the last couple of weeks, turned to the, if I get it thing. And like, I can't help it. I need to be out there now. And I think there's a fine balance between our mental health and being able to see our loved ones in a safe way, or everybody has their risk. But I think I analogized it to someone this week. I'm like, well, I mean, do you want to put your kids in a car, like your toddlers, with someone who was drinking? How many drinks in would you feel is safe? Like, you have to determine that risk, but it's at what point, right. But it's still a pretty big risk, like people I feel are just so exhausted by it. They're ready to take the risk, and that's part of the problem. And then they're not doing the trace contacting.
Yeah, no. And I think that that's actually a dead on assessment. Look, we're tired.
Yeah.
And this is what's been, this is part of the problem, right? This has been unrelenting. It has not ended. And at a certain point, enough's enough. Right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got a breaking point, and it could look pretty bad for a lot of people.
And we've got to be, like I said, we're locking down again.
Yeah.
I absolutely understand going, I don't want to have to do this again. I'm with you. I didn't either.
Yeah.
Especially around Thanksgiving. Right? It would have been nice to have been able to see some friends, to have, hoped that the weather would be good enough to have people come over and have a little Thanksgiving in the backyard.
Right.
A socially distanced Thanksgiving. We're not going to have that. It's not possible. And it's unrelenting. and we do not feel that progress is being made. And yeah, I absolutely get people being like, I've done everything I can. We're going to get through this.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to look like afterwards, but we're going to get through it.
It's going to look like page 1 of Lazarus. No, the thing.
It was a cautionary tale. It was a cautionary tale.
Wait till you hear about Angela and I's discussion. You'll really enjoy that. Because of course I brought up Lazarus. I find a way to bring up Lazarus in my other chats as well. So it's but. Okay. One of the things that frustrates me as well is we're so caught up in this country about the whole mask thing that we can't even get to the next part of it, which is the trace contacting and making sure that we all know how important it is to, as common sense as this sounds, this is why countries like Taiwan and New Zealand, they're using like literally American-made apps and technology to
limit, they know who's
to limit how this is spread. And so we're so caught up on the mask, we can't even get people to wear masks that forget about having the responsible citizens that most of us actually are, like having enough awareness to realize how crucial this is. And I say this because literally I have recently come into knowledge of people that I know and trust and respect not thinking it's a big deal to disclose to XYZ if I came in contact with somebody that tested positive. And it was horrifying. And I go, here we go again. This is because we're so uninformed on how crucial this is, because here we're still back on step 1 of wear a mask, wash your hands. We can't even get past that. And no wonder it's getting worse.
We're not at wear a mask, wash your hands, because we have people going, there is no pandemic. It doesn't exist. Sincerely.
We're backwards. I feel like we're in the Stone Age, and many other countries are, having electricity and running water, and we're still like, what do we do?
We can't begin to fight it if we can't agree that it exists. This is the same thing about people being like, oh, I don't believe climate change is an existential threat. It's like, well, then how are we going to fight it? You know what I mean? If you genuinely don't think this is legit, we've got some problems.
Yeah. And I got into this conversation as well, where, someone liked to say, well, Americans are selfish, and so the pandemic would be like this anyway, regardless who was in power. I was like, no, leadership matters. That is completely not true. Because look at this. We have people who don't believe it and don't believe in masks because that's what our leadership told us. So if we had proper leadership, we would at least be informed of the danger and how we are all trying to fight the same thing. But right now we're just fighting each other.
And honestly, anybody who says that is remarkably ignorant of history. All right. They are just ignorant of
and
history.
Writing their own narrative, right? Or whatever, saying whatever they want to say to make themselves feel better about.
Yeah. Americans have over and over in the history of this country been able to come together to do very hard things on very short notice. Yeah. They've been able to sacrifice individually for the greater good over and over again. And the idea that, and this is part of, I think, the Republican propaganda here, is that there's an inevitability to this situation. You cannot do anything about it. It's like getting the cold, right? It just happens. And
the assumption you'll get over it.
Yeah, and it's not true, right? I mean, it's not true. You don't actually have to get a cold every year,
right?
Right? I mean, you don't. You can, for instance, remember to wash your hands and not stick your fingers up your nose after you've been out in public. You cannot cough in somebody's face. There are all sorts of things we know you can do. The idea that we should just accept is is frankly a GOP tactic that they've been doing for years and years. The argument that this is just the way it is. And in point of fact, the mythology that if you participate in this, you will somehow surpass it, right? There's a meme running around. I've seen it multiple times in the run-up to the election that was a picture of, clearly meant to be some undereducated, overweight white person, in this hysterical pose. And the meme is something like, when Biden proposes increasing taxes on those who make over $400,000 a year, and then it's the picture of the guy saying reaction of high school dropout who makes $33K a year, right? Oh, you can't raise the taxes. And the thing that I come back over and over again is the resistance to that, right? The idea of, oh no, you don't raise taxes, isn't that they don't hear that this portion of the population who gets hysterical about it doesn't hear they're talking about raising the taxes on the wealthy. There is this myth, and it is the Republican lie that says you should be able to do it without any help. The government obligates no assistance. You have to do it yourself and pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Right.
And it's a lie. It's a fiction. It's absolutely a fiction. And then for these people to turn to Trump, it's like, who didn't earn anything.
Yes.
And that ilk. It is predicated on a lie that says you're going to be like that someday. You're never going to be like that. They're never going to let you into that club. You're never going to make that money, ever. And if there was a chance you would, they'd shut you down in a heartbeat because they don't want you in their club.
Right.
It is a closed circle, and it's shrinking.
And the hypocrisy of it is that they didn't do it on their own or pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They were assisted, or they had the privilege, or they had the opportunity that is just not there. And this is what we were talking about a few weeks ago with the Hispanic, that Latinx vote, where the Republicans are so good at tapping into that pipe dream and twisting the knife on that anger and that resentment and building from all those feelings. And I just feel like, how can we do a better job? Like, we have all this passion, we have all these feelings of, and we know what the problem is, but we still are unable to inform and like get the word out to the right places. Like I as much as I despise, I tell you what, they do a really great job of misinforming their crowd.
Yeah, their
messaging is on. It's like
their messaging is brilliant, but remember also that it is always easier to appeal to the worst in people than the best. And when was the last time you heard of a Republican running on, this is a great nation, we are a great people, we are capable of doing great things together? I'm asking.
I have no idea.
When was the last time you heard a positive message coming out of that party that was not a message based on fear?
Fear is the number
one.
And
anger and hatred. And you can't find it in recent memory. It isn't there. And never forget that Obama got no end of shit for the audacity of hope. And that even today is mocked for it. That hope is a dirty word. is really sad.
Mm-hmm.
That we could aspire to better and should want to is something that is easily mocked. Like I say, it is real. The Republicans are always going to have a leg up in that regard, because they will always, I don't have another way to put it, and it sounds unfair, but it's true. They always appeal to your worst instincts. It is easier to be angry than it is to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I mean, so that's the playbook. Of course it's the playbook. How could it not be the playbook? It's demonstrably effective. It's gotten them where they are. Why would they stop?
Yeah. And they got all their Supreme Court seats now, and they're getting what they want. But, and I've been listening to a lot of different podcasts as well. And we are where we're at with the divisiveness. And I hope that the Biden administration can find a way to, what he says, be inclusive, to where he's able to kind of bring people back to being about the country over party, being about each other. And I mean, it is, like you said, the audacity of hope. But I think further being angry at, quote unquote, the other side can't possibly bring us to that point. So it's like, how do we get to that point? It's an impossible question to answer, I'm sure. But
yeah,
it's just, it also relies a lot on us as Americans to take accountability for one's actions and words and our own beings. And that's really, really hard for a lot of people. And in my experience, it's definitely, people don't like to say they're sorry or that they were wrong.
no.
And it's really difficult. And I think we have to find a way to make it easier for people to understand, like, it's okay. Mistakes have been made and we have to kind of go forward on that. But I don't know how any of that can be done, because accountability is not big in this culture right now.
No, we don't have a whole lot of people who want.
I mean, yeah, we don't take accountability for our own health, right? So no. I have this, it's something else's fault,
and
right?
we are not great at viewing ourselves as the collective. You know, we are coming out of an era that clearly has been driven by the I got mine, I don't need you, you know, you don't need yours. Mm-hmm. Nuts to you. I don't know how to put this. We are not, again, I am not without hope, right? We have to look at it this way. And I've seen this said elsewhere as well. This election should have been a blowout. And in many ways it is. All right. I mean, in many ways it is. More people voted ever for Biden than, more people voted for Biden than had ever voted for a president before. Right. Mm-hmm. Demonstrably won the election. But on paper, because of the divisions in the country, it looks tighter than it is. Mm-hmm. And where there are many of us who would have wanted to see the orange shit given get stomped like a narc at a biker rally, the danger in that having happened would be, frankly, some complacency. We were vindicated when we were right. And what we know is that, guys, it's not over. It's never going to be over. It is a journey, mm-hmm. To create a quote unquote more perfect union. and we are not excused.
We can't all just retire now and go on
Exactly.
vacation.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the danger would have been that we could have seen it that way, right?
Yeah.
That we could have said, oh, well, I guess, thank God we're done. Thank God that's over with. Nope, not over with. Not over with. Not over with. We got a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't stop.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I'm with you on the hopeful things, because I try not to over analyze and dwell on the sadness, because that's not good for one's mental health, apparently. but
no.
But I do feel fortunate. I have the type of job or lifestyle in which I get to work with humans who are pushing themselves to be 1% better every day. So whether it's through Kung Fu, or whether it's through learning respect, or seeing kids who are learning to be kind to one another, or inclusive, and it's inspiring. I mean, even just, of course, I just came off this insane project where every single person involved, from filming to editing to talent, did so on a volunteer basis. And I'm talking hundreds of hours of work, right? Because they believe in something.
Well, and the thing,
and they're inspired.
And the thing that I will say that I thought was particularly lovely, right, is that you did this during the pandemic. And during the credits, you've got those lovely behind the scenes shots. And how to put this? Don't take this the wrong way.
No worries.
Were you to do a re-edit?
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest maybe just adding a little card at the end saying, this was filmed under COVID conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Protocols were followed.
It is there.
It is? Because I didn't see it.
It's the very end after the roll. So there's the credits with the pictures, and then there's a roll in black of everybody's name.
All right.
And
maybe I bailed a little too. No,
yeah, you might,
because I watched all of it. I missed that.
But you know what happens in YouTube? They put up the watch this next or whatever often.
Yes.
And so,
yes. Now that you've seen this lovely celebration.
Yeah. Go look at this next. So literally.
It's more specific. It's now that you've seen this lovely, cultural educational experience. Here's a video from some Nazis
well, I tried to, yes, true. But that's why I tried to make it so that it would at least plug our thing.
Yes.
But okay, so it says at the end, physical distancing, wearing masks, and other COVID-19 precautions were observed during production for the safety and health of our cast and crew. We believe that wearing masks can save lives. #, we are in this together. So that's the very last thing before it goes to
then
credits, Waldom Films, and then it ends.
But the reason I bring it up, right, was that you had the behind the scenes photos where you were seeing people in masks.
Right.
And I was like, see, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then the kids that partnered are they live together.
Yeah.
So it was such a logistical thing, and then we all decided, okay, who's gonna quarantine and be in Pa. It was very logistically crazy. I can't imagine what's going on film sets, but I think they have the budget to test every day and do all these other things. I'm hoping.
I know for a fact that one executive who I worked with on the old guard is up in Vancouver for the start of production on a feature film up there, and literally went up to quarantine for 2 weeks in advance of the day.
Yeah.
Was in a hotel for 2 weeks. So yeah, guys, we got to do hard stuff. Jen's got to fly out to. I suppose this is a fair thing to talk about now, since we're not going to talk next week because Thanksgiving.
Yes, unless we reschedule early or something.
Oh, is that what you're hoping for?
I'm open.
Jen's flying out to New York on the 28th, a week from this Saturday, and she's going to quarantine, and she is going out to be there for Elliot's court date.
Mm-hmm.
And she will have to quarantine in a hotel, be tested, and then providing that she is clear, will be able to do what she needs to do. And then she's going to come back and she's going to have to quarantine again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to see her for a good 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've been talking about this last night, and she is the foundational support of this family. And as a result, she feels guilty about this because she's like, I should be here. And it's like, no, this is the thing you should be doing. This is the thing that needs to be done. Mm-hmm. And this is the sacrifice we are all making now. We will, I said, there's a good chance you're going to roll back in here on the 10th and find, Dashiell and I and Marlo, eating takeout leftovers on the floor in mountains of filth. But that's the hit we're all going to take as a collective. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. Right? That's okay. Yeah. It's hard. Mm-hmm. But we are again, what we were doing for each other. And we talked months ago about the fact that your decision to wear a mask today saves the life of somebody in Brazil, mm-hmm. or Singapore, or Nigeria. I mean, if there is ever a greater demonstration of sort of the human condition of us, we're all, it's a smaller planet than you thought, guys, and we're all in it together. Mm-hmm. It's this, and we can point fingers and blame and throw stones about it, and God knows I am more than happy to do so. There are people that I would love to hit with not stones but boulders, and I think they should be held to account, but that is not mutually exclusive with wanting to care for one another, mm-hmm. and our obligations to do so. Because one could argue that that's self-care, and care for one another means that we have to hold those who violate that contract to account. They have to be punished. They have to be called out.
Agreed.
Yes. So there we go. How was that?
I was feeling like a "We Are the World" thing happening. You were like doing that.
And then I took it back into that. And then I took it back into the bloody vengeance.
It's okay. There was a moment of "We Are the World," and I was like feeling nostalgic. I was like, there was a moment where there was a time like everybody felt like, oh, we affect one another worldwide, and it's not just about me. And I think you're right. If there was ever time to have empathy for others, this is it, because we literally are all affected.
Yeah.
There's no one that hasn't been,
we're affected together, guys.
We are. Everything is affected. And I mean, just thinking about Jen traveling, how much stress that puts on all of you to be one worried for her, then she's worried about you, and it goes back and forth. And you guys will be fine. I'm sure that you won't be eating off the floor take out boxes.
I will tell you in all sincerity, the thing that we can end on a funnier note, I suppose.
Yeah.
So the thing that I'm pretty certain is going to happen is that all right, this is insight here. So you and I do this, everybody listens to the podcast, but I'm in my office, and my office is in my basement. Mm-hmm. So, and this is where I work, right? Yes. And when we're on video, you can see the other computer monitors there. Mm-hmm. There's like the blurry Jessica Chastain wallpaper on it, right? And like the books and all this stuff, and this is where I work. And Jen's office is upstairs off of our bedroom.
Okay.
And Marlo, the neurotic dog, who is probably the worst combination of like dog traits in a lot of ways, right? She's a big dog.
Yes,
she is an Airedale Standard Poodle mix, so she is smart. She is a smart dog. She also has drawn certain conclusions that we cannot get her to change her mind about, such as stairs are okay. She will not come down the stairs. And she will not go up the stairs. So her whole life is on the first floor of our house.
Okay.
She does not trust certain textures beneath her paws. So she will not go into the kitchen because it's this, sort of fake wood laminate. And she has some association with it where she will, and you could literally drop a steak in the middle of the floor and say, it's for you. And you will watch her like creeping almost. And then she'll like literally, and she won't turn. She'll back up the way like you hear trucks beep, beep, beep.
Yes.
She will back up.
With her eye on the prize and going, why are you doing this to me?
And then she'll lie down in the doorway and cry. Right? So and then when I took Elliot out for college in July, something happened with Marlo, probably anxiety related, which was half the pack disappeared one morning. Elliot had been here for months since he had gotten back, and then we were gone. Mm-hmm. And she got really clingy with Jen. And the result of that clinginess was she started having accidents in the house. See, like I said, this is the upbeat. I'm going somewhere where this is our upbeat end. And in particular, she has these accidents on the bed. Because she will climb up, and normally she's just on the bed. Mm-hmm. And we were trying to figure it out. And is this, because she has never had a problem with this. Mm-hmm. Ever, right? She's been very good about like, I got to go outside now. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And the best we could figure is that there's either an incontinence issue that is coming up or anxiety. Mm-hmm. And we seem to have we thought it was anxiety.
Right.
And it seems to be anxiety, though she's also a precious princess, and it's like, well, it's cold and rainy and I don't want to go outside. It's like, too bad. The thing that has me most concerned is that I'm going to need to relocate my work to Jen's office while she's away. Mm-hmm. So I am near Marlo. Mm-hmm. So Marlo does not, like, Dashiell's fine. She's up in her room doing her thing. She can text me. She knows where I am. Even if I am out, like if I'm taking Marlo for a walk, she'll be like, oh, he's out, right? Mm-hmm. Marlo will be like, I'm alone. And so I'm like, okay, so now I got to figure out how I'm going to do everything.
Right.
She doesn't think that. And this means that I won't be able to play Squadrons. And, I'm going to have to take some Squadrons time off. And that's sort of sad for me. And
yeah.
Yeah, these are really serious.
Serious issues.
First world problems.
First world problems.
And first world problems during a pandemic. So if and I say, look, I mean, this is not a gut busting story, but I think that there is some humor in it to be found. And the humor in it is to say, could be a lot worse. I mean, I was speaking to these two producers I did a project with on the phone this morning, and ostensibly it was to talk about this other project that they wanted to know if I was interested in. And I really like them, and it had been a while since we talked, and we were chatting and catching up, and one of the things that came up in the conversation, was this sucks and this sucks and this sucks and this sucks and this sucks, and all that said, so much better off than so many others right now. And to wrap it around for what you were saying, you and Oscar are doing, looking at Thanksgiving coming. Yeah, it is. There's a whole, this is not to shine the turd. It is a mess. And there's a lot of bad. But there's a lot we can be grateful for. And trying to remember those things while also facing the fire hose of day-to-day feces that is sprayed from the federal level down upon us and so on. It goes back to what we've talked about regarding self-care, I guess. But it is worth remembering, for many of us, we have it so much better than so many others, and it is something to be thankful for, and it's something to remember, and it's something to inspire us to reach out and try to continue to improve things.
Absolutely.
So there's my great big sappy Thanksgiving Valentine.
I love it. I love it. Heart.
My little heart. Little heart.
And I hope that Marlo has no accidents.
Oh no, she will. There's no question.
Because it sounds like if Jen leaves, Marlo's gonna be very upset.
Yeah, my days are gonna be walking the dog and doing laundry. I know that. Yeah. I know that. So,
and for our listeners, I'm linking this here because Marlo is a star and was totally interviewed on Culture Chat.
That's right,
video, and so she's totally a diva, and I can see that. As soon as you got up to leave, she's like, "Well, obviously, she's taking my spot.
Exactly.
I'm here." So as soon as Greg got up, then she jumped in place for the interview. So I went ahead and interviewed Marlo,
and it's adorable.
And it tracks. So this tracks with your story, actually. But so I'm going to link that here for people. But absolutely, I think that's been it was actually a great story, very helpful. And I'm sorry that you're going to have some.
Again, if that's the worst thing I have to deal with,
yes,
we're going to be okay.
We'll take it. Yes, we'll take it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So mindfulness is definitely important, and gratitude. So, well, I am grateful for you, sir. And tell Jen, have a very, very safe trip if I don't talk to you before. And thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Soon.
Lots of love to you and to Oscar and to the whole family. And if for some reason we don't speak next week, happy Thanksgiving, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's listening who celebrates it. Yep. And everybody who's listening and doesn't, I hope you have a great week.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to Culture Chat, and hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please subscribe and rate my podcast. Feel free to leave me suggestions or send an email to mimi@culturechatpodcast.com, or follow me on social media at Sifu Mimi Chan on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook.